is what Gary and I talked about. So, can you see my screen, Gary?
Yes, sir.
So I have a 500,000 property that's going to be assumed, but the balance is 400,000 on the loan. So that cash gap is $100,000, right? Right, Gary?
Yep.
So what I can do is I can go in here and Gary asked me to see if I can put as little as 10% down. So go for a $75,000 second mortgage, right?
Yep.
And it'll come back and say it's outside the parameters. Do you want me to modify it? So the most I can go is $50,000 on the second. So Gary, your client has a 500,000 purchase price, is going to assume that $400,000 loan, right?
Yep.
There's a cash gap of 100,000. We can finance 50,000 of that.
Yep.
And the best terms are 50,000. It's a 20-year loan. The payment's $531.
Okay.
So you would add that to what the first mortgage is right now, and they would need to come in with 50,000 plus the closing costs.
So 10%. Got it.
Does that
Awesome.
help?
Yep.
Do anybody have any questions on that? Just financing. I know we jumped right into it, but any questions?
Yeah. So we went
Awesome.
a little out of order. I'm going to teach and coach you guys, but Pitt wanted to share that with me and I wanted to see the numbers. So I just wanted to be there. What questions you guys have to get started? Who has heard me talk about assumptions before, assumable loans before? At least one person, two people. Cool.
Yeah, Pitt is probably teach the class.
Yeah, he's got it down. I'm done with my headset for right now.
So as I remember, anybody can buy an assumable loan. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer to do it. My question had to do with the VA side and the entitlement. That's what
Yep.
I'm in here for.
Yep.
And to hear your lovely voice in scripting.
You're so good to me, Marion. So I want to make sure I kind of go over a couple of things. We're going to get into some details, and I'm going to give you guys some pieces of information that you're going to be able to utilize moving forward. But Marion's question, Pitt and I have a client right now that we're working with. They are not veterans, and they want to make sure that they can buy amazing deal in Roseville. So we found a 2.8 VA loan. It's about 480,000 for the loan amount. It's about 320 or 340 for the gap. Um, and the veteran is moving out of state and they have already purchased their new home. So therefore they do not need their veteran benefit to go with them. So I've already talked to the listing agent, Laura Miller, my buddy over at KW. And she ultimately said is I'm willing, or the sellers are willing to leave behind their veteran benefits, their eligibility with that loan, and they're going to have their new property in Texas or wherever they're going. An investor can buy it, or an owner occupied can buy it. But if a veteran takes over a veteran loan, they have to occupy it. I know that seems really odd, but that is the logistics of it.
Just just a question though, but
Yep.
if for an investor or an owner to take it over, the veteran that's leaving must be willing to leave their benefit or their entitlement.
Yep.
So there still needs to be that entitlement piece on the VA only.
Yep. It's called Certificate of Eligibility. It's also called a DD 214. Um, People use different terms for it, but it's ultimately the veteran benefit that they get from being a veteran is attached to the loan. The loan is staying with the property.
It was ugly in one of my divorces. So
Gotcha. All right. So, I actually have one of these going right now where my client is purchasing a property from a veteran. The veteran has lost her job and she's moved out of state. My client is paying $100,000 over what the house was listed for. And I want that to sink in. They're paying $100,000 more than what it's currently listed for.
What about the appraisal?
No appraisal. So my client is paying $650 to get a 4.6 rate. And you guys think, well, that sounds absolutely ridiculous. He's getting into a house for 10% down as an investment property, and his payment is $4,300. If he would have bought this house as a short sale, it would have been at 560. He would have had to put down 25%, which would have been $130,000 to $140,000, and his payment would have been $4,500 because he would have been at 7% on a DSCR loan. So his payment is $200 less. He has 50,000 more in his pocket, and he's getting to take over that property as an investor. Full legal title, loan, assumption, everything. And as I just said to Tamara, there is no appraisal because my client's coming in with the cash for the difference. Okay. So there, you guys will start to see this as market shifts. Values are starting to move a little bit. There will be people that have those 2 and 3 and 4% interest rates that unfortunately are going to be upside down in their house. And for them, they just can't afford it. They will walk away from those houses. It will make sense for your clients to overpay for the house to buy the rate because the affordability, the payment will be less. And then also keep in mind, these are no longer 30-year loans. They're usually 27, 26, 25-year loans. My client's buying his and it's 26-year loan. He doesn't have 30 years span, he's got 26. So he's accelerating into the payment. You guys all understand how what's the word I'm looking for? The amortization schedule works. You start at the top, and as you pay down, you pay less interest and more principal. So he's already starting down here. So there's this huge amount of interest that's already been paid by the previous person. So when we talk about, and I'll show you guys this in a little bit, is you think, oh, well, it's 100 or 200, it's $500 a month in savings. Yes, it is. But when you look at that over 25 years, the savings in interest is like 2 and 3 and $400,000 in savings. It gets really, really big, really fast. So,
So Gary, let me slow you down there. Just let me
yeah,
make sure I understand what you're saying, right?
yep,
So the first thing you're saying is if you have a VA loan that's assumable, okay, that's the holy grail, right?
yep,
So why is that? Because you're saying a non-owner, a non-veteran, non-owner can assume that VA loan just paying the cash gap difference.
correct.
Okay, does everybody get that? That's huge. That's huge. All right. The second thing he's saying is that as the market maybe softens, maybe it has in certain areas, there's people that their loan balances don't give you a chance to sell it and get your commission, right? Don't give you a chance to sell it and get your commission. So therefore, instead of doing a short sale, Gary's proposing that you flip it and you let somebody assume that loan, but you make the sales price just enough that it's no longer a short sale.
Correct.
And for the buyer assuming it, well, wait, Audrey, why would I want to pay more, right? And Audrey would say, well, Pitt, look at your payment. Look at this payment on what you're assuming. The fact that you're paying a little bit more, it's not increasing your payment. That's a tricky one, isn't it, Gary?
Yeah, it's not the average person doesn't understand that. And that was
Okay.
one of the reasons I wanted to kind of go over this with you guys today is I'm watching the market. Tom, hang tight 1 second. I'm watching the market and I'm seeing that it's softening right now. And I'm seeing that buyers are out there on a consistent basis. Jason had held up one of my houses. They were there for 30 minutes on Saturday and an hour on Sunday, and they still decided I don't really like this house enough. They are not giving you guys information. They're saying, oh, we're just looking. We're not quite ready yet. I want you guys to be able to say, this might not be the right house for you, but how about if I could get you a house that has a 3% interest rate and I could save you $500 to $1,000 a month in your payment? I want you guys to have, excuse me, a good hook for you to be able to gain someone's information and just pique their interest enough that they go, Audrey knows something that somebody else doesn't know at the last open house. Marion is sharing information with me that I didn't learn from Bob at the other open house. That is my goal for you guys, for you to be educated better than the next agent. I have been researching this for the last 18 months. I talked to Pitt about this 10 months ago, and he was like, whatever, Gary, whatever. And now here we are teaching a class on it. So go ahead, Tom.
Gary, that's I love that story. Pitt, you just said something that was kind of significant, and forgive me, I just want to make sure I understand the point. Why would you want to take something and pay more for it, but be able to get it at terms? And it seemed like there's several possible answers, but is it that because it cash flows and you can make it happen? You said your payment's going to be the same. Is your payment the same because it cash flows, or is the payment the same because uh, the loan balance is less? Did I say
Yeah,
that correctly?
Gary, do you wanna bring an example, just throw some numbers together for us here and walk me through it? Let's
Yep.
say on the
So,
bottom,
all
okay?
right. So I'm going to tell you guys this. I just closed on a duplex for a buyer in Vallejo. So one bedroom, one bath on each side. She's going to live in one. She's going to rent the other side out. When I showed it to her, she was like, "Well, Gary, the comps say it's only worth 425." And so we ran the numbers with her lender at 425, and her payment was 34 or $3,500, which she was going to rent out a portion of it, so she gets a portion of that covered. I did a little digging and found out that it had a 2.65 FHA loan on it. So I said, here's the deal. We're going to pay the 489. That's a $60,000 difference. And her payment is $700 a month less. And now she's got her best friend living next door to her, paying her 1,700 bucks. Her payment is less than $1,000 to live in this house, and she was $30,000 down.
And
Wow.
Gary, just why did she have to pay more? Just walk me through that one more time.
So specifically for short sales, and that's what we're talking to you guys about today, is there will be properties that are based on comps only worth X dollars. Your client's going to pay X plus 25,000 because they're buying the rate. And that's kind of how I want you guys to term this is you're not buying this house at 500,000. You're buying this house at $450,000. And you're actually spending 50,000 extra to buy that 2.75, three and a quarter, whatever rate. So you're spending 50,000 today as a part of the package here because you're going to save 200,000 over the next 20 years or whatever that number is.
And so Gary, to be specific, sorry, that 50,000, that's because of the cost for the seller to sell, including closing costs and commissions, so it's no longer a short sale.
Correct.
So instead of doing a short sale, which you could go down that road, right?
Yep.
People would have to get a whole new loan.
Yep.
You flipped it and you had a great assumable and you work backwards with the costs for the seller, including commissions, and you came up with a price that if you sold it at this, it wouldn't be a short sale and the client can assume that loan.
Correct. Not to mention the fact that you guys know a short sale means that you're shorting the bank, doesn't mean short in timeline. For those of us that did short sales from 2007 to 2013, they take 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and even longer. You guys can get these done in 60 days.
So Gary, the reason that you're willing to pay that $60 or 60 grand is to get it out of short sale status. So then rather than taking 9 months to do, you get it done in 30 days. The house is yours. You're already making money. You're already in the profit.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah.
So if you're out there taking a listing and the numbers are close and they're short, you should immediately see if it's an FHA or a VA loan. And if you have that, then talk to Gary and I and we'll walk you through the numbers. So maybe you can be more intelligent than the next listing agent, right, Gary?
Yeah, you guys are going to start to see short sales, people that are running really close, really thin lines. You're going to start to see notice of default. Frank Crandall listed a house Monday for $399. They're in default. They're about to get foreclosed on. I'm going to walk in with an investor and be able to pick up that house. We're actually going to do that one subject too, but it's a 3.25 rate and they just can't afford it. So,
Can't afford a 3.25 rate. Wow.
well, everybody's got their own things that happen. People get sick, people go through divorce, people lose
Sure.
jobs. The lady that we're picking up this one in Natomas, she's a veteran. She had a great stable job, went through a divorce and lost her job literally in 90 days, moved back home to North Carolina to be with family just to kind of grieve everything. And we just said, okay, what if I can fix your credit, bring it current, take over the house, and you have no loss? And she was like, where do I sign?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a way to get out of a bad situation.
Yeah. Another thing you guys got to look at this is this agent was like, how on earth are you making this possible? Because I thought I was going to lose this deal. I'm going to wait till it closes and then I'm going to take him to lunch and be like, if you want to learn how to do what you just saw me do, come be a part of our team. So great strategy for you guys to recruit as well.
Nice.
Okay. All right. I'm going to dive in and share my screen. All right. So I'm going to share with you guys a couple of different things. For those of you guys that are part of 12-week challenge, you guys have seen some of this before, and forgive me, I got a couple screens open. I want to make sure I'm on the right one. Okay, so this first thing is my Assumable Loans highlights. This is everything you guys need to have a basic understanding of assumables. If you guys aren't aware, I use a site called assumelist.com. My buddy is Mike Lorino. He's based out of Virginia. He's a military veteran. He's also a real estate agent, and he created the site because he saw that there was a lot of need. Specifically, he's in Virginia, so right in the DC area. He had a ton of these going on. I met him about a year ago, started kind of going down this path, and I have built a great relationship with him. There's actually even a picture of me on his website. That's how close we are. You guys can get this site. You guys can go right here. It's my affiliate link. You guys sign up at 79 bucks a month. I get like 15 bucks for you guys signing up. I'm not here for the 15 bucks. I just wanted you guys to have the link. Um, but I'm also for those that are thinking this isn't exactly what you want to spend all of your time on. I'm actually going through with my VA and I am scraping the data out of here. And I'm going to show you guys the data in a second. So we'll use this one on Chelsea. So this shows me that this is an FHA loan, 2.65 rate, has 26 years left on it. The estimated loan balance is 494. It's got 121 down. Tells you who the client is, gives you all the MLS data, tells you when they pulled it, tells you what the payment is. It also allows you to say, hey, my clients don't have 20% down, they only have 10% down, like Pitt showed us at the very beginning. They can get into this for 61,000 down. It gives you what's called the blended rate, 4.36, and it shows you that payment is 3,700. It does not show you the insurance. I tell people insurance is different everywhere. I make it 100 bucks a month roughly. So you know that the rate payment is $3,800. That's a $632 a month savings for someone to buy this house. And it's also a $227,000 interest savings over the next 26 years. Do you guys all see that? Okay. What we are doing is we are taking all those properties. My VA is scraping these, and so this data is being up to date, and we're adding to it daily. It gives you the address, gives you the original loan amount. We calculate all these factors, tells you what the principal and interest is. It shows you what the taxes are. It shows you if there's PMI. It shows you what the first PITI is. If there's an HOA, we're calculating everything. And then it tells you what the first payment is. It shows you what the gap funding is, and everything is in a Google spreadsheet. So it's easier. And like I said, I know this, so I look at these on a consistent basis. I know how to pull the information out. This way you guys have it and can see it side by side. There's a link to this on this page right here at the bottom for list of properties. My VA is going to update this so that you guys have access to it on a consistent basis. If you guys don't want to buy a Zoom list and don't want to spend the 79 bucks a month, like I said, because you think, well, I kind of want to learn a little bit about this, but I'm not going to dive into it like Gary did. Perfectly fine. We're going to create this for you guys. The other thing that my VA does is that they create these amazing and beautiful ads for you guys. Of course, this has my information in it. You need to change it because I don't want all your buyers calling me. But I'm going to show you guys how to take and post these properties onto Bold Trail so that you guys can start to get buyers engaging with you. So we're going to go to Bold Trail. I don't know what my passwords are. Should have had this open beforehand. What is it? Let me see if I have it. Sorry, guys. Uh, hopefully that worked. Ah, I'm in. First time. Unbelievable. All right. So if you guys want to post ads from Bold Trail about assumables, whether you're doing an open house, whatever it is, you want to get these type of buyers, you go over here to listings, click on this listings. You need to go to your filters applied, this green button, and you want all filters. And then you want to go ahead and here and search. The property I was looking at was 4319. Hartlepool 319. Oops. So you guys click on the blue, go to this beautiful and amazing thing that says more actions right here. You can post it to Facebook, you can post it to X, you can post it to Pinterest, you can post it to Craigslist. I choose Facebook. And look what it does for me. It calculates everything, it pulls it all in. This is a direct link back to my Bold Trail. When I'm posting these, we post at least one a day. I have at least 2 leads a week that come into me inbound that say, I'm interested in that property. Okay, so then I go back to this little post. I go ahead and copy my little square there. And I post that right there. And I have all that information right there. And then I hit post. As you guys are doing your day-to-day activities, these are what you guys should be posting on a consistent basis. That took me a minute and a half. You guys should find you got buyers in Roseville, Elk Grove, Antelope, wherever they are. You should consistently be posting these onto your social medias. Okay. Any questions yet?
Hey, Gary, it's more a technical issue.
Yep.
I noticed you had a lot of the coming soon on your dashboard and the picture didn't populate there in the post. I have put in a ticket with Inman to get that looked into and they're getting stalled by our MLS. So I don't know if more people pile on, because a lot of my reports are coming out with all that coming soon on listings that have been up 30 days.
That's new.
It just got cranky the last couple weeks.
Huh.
And I just had another dialogue and they said they're not hearing back from our MLS. I said, please let me know if I can help. So I'm gonna keep chewing on
So
it.
this one was posted yesterday and it's in here now. So maybe it takes a little while to get them up. So I posted this one on the 20th. So maybe there's a slight delay inside our MLS feed. It's possible. Our MLS is not perfect by any means. I like
Hey,
it.
Gary.
I can pull up the same listing on Zillow. I just can't pull it up in our Bold Trail.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough.
Gary,
Yes, sir.
hey, are you calling the agent that it's their listing for permission to post?
Yeah,
Or
so great question. Thank you for asking that, Jason. I do engage with a lot of the agents on a
right, okay.
consistent basis. I'm sure there's one or two that I've missed, but I do. I message a lot of them via text. My VA emails also and says, "Hey, I'm doing some marketing. You guys have this VA assumable at 3%. Is it okay if we market this out to our database?" And I usually get a yes back. Every once in a while, I get a jerk that says no way. But for
Right.
the most part, I get yeses, probably 90%.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure if you were calling or not. All
Yeah,
right,
I mean,
thanks.
if I think about it, like today, I had a specific buyer for Roseville. So I was going through actually on our calls, I messaged 4 agents and said, "Hey, I got a buyer who's looking for this. Here's my questions. Is it cool if I use this to market to some other buyers?" And every one of them said yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So if I'm on the
Oop.
phone, if I get a text message, I can get a written something. I do try and grab it. Or if I get them on the phone and I get an interact, I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna shoot you a quick text just to confirm you're okay with me posting, just so I have something in writing." I don't save that anywhere, but I do just that way. I did a little extra, in my opinion. So, um, in my opinion, you guys should be utilizing this. I'm gonna stop share for right now. Every open house you guys do, in my opinion, right now, there are a ton of new properties that are assumable. If it was me, and you guys know that I am not a big open house fan, it's just not my specialty. Um, I would tell you guys this: I would find any and every single open house I could find that's vacant that has an assumable loan. And Pitt did this back in the day. He actually created this sheet of paper that says "Ask me about 2% loans," and he put it on a zip ties, and I had it. I wore it around my neck at an open house one time, and I was like, you know what? That's actually pretty smart. So it just says, "Ask me about this house," or "Ask me how to buy this house with a 2% rate," or something like that. Because think about it. People are walking into open houses, and it doesn't matter if you're in Lincoln or Roseville or Elk Grove, whatever, and you have something that says, "I can buy this house with a 3% rate, 2% rate, 4% rate." I'd obviously make sure it's the one that's accurate for that house. And then I'd be able to say, "Listen, we keep a database of these properties that I only share with my clients." So this way you are setting yourself up to be different from everybody else. Yes, they could find them on the MLS. There are other agents that have a basic understanding of assumable. But if you can show, that Excel or the Google spreadsheet I have and say, "Here's the rate, here's the payment, here's your savings," that is gold for you guys to set yourselves apart from everybody else. Hannah, what's your question? You got your hand raised.
Okay, I feel the need to just specify. I just started. I know nothing about loans or like
You're
any of that
good.
stuff. So, out of fear of my question sounding so dumb.
No, no dumb questions. Come on.
Okay, so still having a little bit of trouble just fully understanding it. So just want to run by it. So, if you have a house for $500,000 or so, and then the people who own the house have already paid $100,000 towards it. So that leaves $400,000 that need to be paid, say at a 3% interest rate. And then someone takes that over
Correct.
and they're now paying that 400 at the 3%. What happens? What about the other 100,000? Is it they're able to get the 4% because they're only doing or the 3% because they're only doing the 400 and then they pay like more down to cover the 100? Or how does that quite work?
Yep. Okay. So, and Hannah, you may drop down a little bit late, or we kind of jumped in with Pitt to begin. So, what it's called is the gap, and I'll share my screen again. I want to show it to you guys so you guys can see this again.
I'm not gonna lie, I was listening the entire time. I just didn't fully get
It's
it.
okay. And you may have been brand new. So, and you are brand new to real estate. So see
Yeah.
this word here, this is called the gap. So
Right.
I'm glad that you guys are asking questions because I've been doing this long enough that a lot of it just comes natural to me, and numbers, for whatever reason, are very natural for me. So I just think, oh, this makes sense. But for other people, it doesn't always make the same sense. So the list price on this Hartle pool house is 520. The original loan amount was 475. The current loan balance is 433. So between that 520 and 433, we have a gap of $87,000. If a client has that 87,000, then they're golden. We have a lot of people that are like, I've got 15 grand, I've got that 3% down, and that's all I have. They're probably not going to be able to take advantage of these amazing low rates. Okay.
Mhm.
Now we can finance up to 90% of the total loan. So if this house is 520,000 of that 87, we can probably finance about 40,000 of that. So they're maybe 35. So they still need to have 50,000-ish, 10% of the 52. Now, there are ways to start to manipulate certain things to try and help bridge gaps. And we kind of mentioned it earlier when we talked about how I'm making this massive offer over. Like on this one, I might offer 540 or 550, and I would ask the seller to give us this huge credit so I can get my clients as smallest amount down because that credit's going to help pay for closing costs. I might get extra commission for me and then give a portion of my commission back. There's other ways to figure out how to get your clients in, but the chances are they're going to need to come in with close to 10%. There are some lenders that will occasionally come in and allow it at 5%. You guys heard Pitt say his lending avenues right now only have a 10% gap. They don't have that 5% gap yet. Every once in a while, we'll come back, and lending guidelines change all the time. So in 3 months or 6 months, someone might raise their hand and be like, we actually have financing to 95% again. But for right now, it's at 90%.
Okay.
So this is where we help people and say, okay, do you have a 401k? Do you have grandma and grandpa, aunt and uncle that you can borrow from so that you guys can get this amazing rate of 2.59?
Got it. So you're taking over the rest of the mortgage and then the at that rate, and then whatever the gap is, you're either paying it all up front, or if they don't quite have enough, then you're reconfiguring it to somehow cover that gap so that
Correct.
they're able. Okay, got
Yep.
it. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So another thing to think about is as we, like I said, go into this softer market, it is going to be an opportunity where the sellers are like, I have to get out. I have to leave right now because I'm being transferred. I'm going through divorce, whatever it is. You can then start to ask for sellers for things like, hey, will you guys carry the rest of the difference? We'll bring in enough money to pay the commissions for the listing side and the buyer side and to pay the closing costs, but will you, the seller, carry 50,000 of that? Like, hey, we have the 37, but we don't have the 50. So we'll take your first at 2.59. We'll get a seller carry for 50,000 at 6%, and we'll come in with a 37 grand. You will start to see that there is going to be some things like that done over the coming months. And it'll depend on what happens with the rates, what happens with, other things outside politically, wars and different conflicts that are going on. There will be opportunities that will come up during this time.
Okay, great. Thank you so
All right?
much.
Of course. Cool. What other questions you guys have? All right.
Gary,
I've got a little question. Sorry.
What you got, Josh?
So I'm question about the gap funding. Does the original lender that you assumed the loan, are do they have a problem with you like gap funding so much where like maybe the house is, I mean, on paper out underwater, but on payments not? I mean, I'm not sure if I'm explaining it right, but
I think I know what you're saying. So, okay. So the first lender, let's use Penny Mac. I have a assumption going right now. Penny Mac. Penny Mac is the first at 400,000, and Penny Mac will not fund a second. You'd have to go to someone like Pitt to get a portion of the second. Penny Mac does not care how much your second is because they're not getting an appraisal. Now, an owner is probably not going to carry, a portion of that. And we all know that Pitt said 90% is the maximum that his financing will allow right now. So that 50,000. So the chances of you being upside down, Josh, probably limited. The market's softening right now. It's not some free fall like it was in 2007, 8, 9. So hopefully that won't happen. I don't foresee it happening. But I mean, there's a possibility of we could see a 3 to 5, maybe even 7 or 10% reduction in values over the coming year. I'm not saying I have a crystal ball. I'm not telling you guys at all that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying if we saw some massive reduction like 10%, then it's possible those houses could be upside down. Think about this. This kind of leads me into this piece. I told you guys that there are people out there that are short sells right now. There are several clients that I'm watching at, or listings, I should say, that are short sells. That bank would much prefer me to pay full price and take over that loan and be an investor owning that property and making my 3.5% interest payment for the next 25 years because they're going to still make $500,000 versus Bob selling it short and them having to take a $50,000 or $80,000 haircut today. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything in our questions
Hey, Gary.
here. Okay, Audrey Kim, that's a great question. So conventional loans are not assumable on a standard basis. Only government-backed loans, which is VA, USDA, and FHA. They are all government-backed loaned. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac are conventional. They're sold on what's called the tertiary market or the third, like bonds and stuff like that. They're sold as mortgage-backed securities. So that's why they are not assumable. Now, my caveat to that is I have spoken to several people who, for whatever reason, they heard about assumables and they called their bank and they go, "Hey, I want to know if my loan's assumable." And they found out that they had a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac loan. And Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac told them, if it is a family member, we will allow you to assume it. So if you said, "Hey, I'm going to lose my house. My brother wants to assume my loan and, he's going to help me out, whatever." I have heard that that is possible. Don't quote me on it. I've just heard that it's possible. I've talked to my assumption team and they have said the same thing. They have heard that as well. And when you're talking about conventional, the other option or opportunity is what we call subject to. That's creative financing. That's a Pace Morby type of deal. And that's where you don't really tell the bank that someone's taken over your loan. You take and you full title and legal and put it into an LLC, and then the LLC makes the payment for that client. I've actually done 4 or 5 of these, and I have 2 going currently. I own my house in Texas this way. So, and these are things that you guys will not hear from standard everyday real estate people because they think it's illegal. It's a gray area. It is not illegal. It is just a creative way to put things together. Any questions on that as I state that?
you restate that subject to for me? Just
Yep.
first time
Subject
I've
to
heard
means
this.
that I am buying your house, Marion. You live at 123 Main Street, and Gary Meek is going to buy 123 Main Street. I'm going to go to an escrow and title company here locally in Folsom. That's who I use. I use Abbey Title and Escrow. I'm going to do a full legal title and escrow, and I'm going to take over your home. I'm probably going to drop it into an LLC, and that LLC is probably going to be named the name of your street. It's going to be Main Street LLC. People put their house into LLCs and trusts all the time, and the banks never care. So that's why I always put it into the name of a trust or an LLC that is the name of the property. So the one I'm closing right now, or it closes in July, is Coronet Court. My seller said, "Hey, I'm going to lose my house. I'm willing to let you guys take it over." My buyer, I represent a buyer, I'm not buying it myself. He's going to put it into Coronet Court LLC, full legal and title transfer, but the loan stays in her name. She's an elderly lady. She's like, "If you guys screw my credit up, I really don't care. As long as I'm getting 5 grand to move." Because if not, she would have been a short sale by $50,000. And my guy's a veteran, just has some challenges in the past, and he's going to make sure she makes all his payments. And then that's how we're doing it. So the loan stays in her name, the title goes into his name or the LLC's name. Yes, ma'am.
So, and this is where I'm naive, is this how seller financing works too? So I've got a bunch of clients with lots of equity.
Seller financing is similar, but not exactly the same. So if the seller is going to finance, and actually Haley has this, her parents are selling their house. They own it free and clear, and they want to seller finance it. You guys will find this from investors, and we're getting a little bit on a tangent, but I want to make sure I answer you guys' questions. So when someone owns a property free and clear, they will say, if I sell this today and it's not their primary residence, it's an investment, or it's an over $500,000 gain for a married couple, there's a massive tax consequence, or there can be. And that's what we hear of things like 1031 exchange. The seller can say, I'm going to sell this house today for $1 million and I'm going to finance 900,000 of it. The only tax consequence they have is the 100,000 that they accept today. And they actually get that $500,000 tax benefit up front. Over the next 10 years, someone pays them $10,000 a month, 120,000. They only get taxed on the money and the income that they make in that year. So if someone retires and they had a big paying corporate job and now they're making half that, they collect 120,000 in interest and principal. They are taxed at a much lower rate, and it's only that little portion per year. So they can extend that tax consequence out over 10 years instead of taking it all in one shot if they sold it and that buyer paid cash or got brand new financing. Does that make sense?
So they would set this up in an escrow, and I could talk to you offline about that, but it sounded similar.
Yeah. So escrow will take care of that. They will draw the note and deed of trust for you if you have a good escrow and title company. They will draw all your documents for you. They are amazing. Okay. So I want to get back to assumptions because that's really what this started on. And these questions weren't bad questions by any means. They just took us on a little bit of rabbit trail. So I want to make sure that you guys have all access to the data that I have. So this page right here, you guys are going to get an email. I'm recording this. Please tell me I did record this. I'm going to send you guys the recording. I'm going to send you guys the links to this in an email so that you guys have access to it. This gives you access to everything, kind of gives you guys a breakdown. It shows you right here the link or the ad that I use. Here's the company I use, Assumption Solutions. That's the company, the third-party company that will process the assumption that takes 60 days versus you'll hear people say, oh, I heard they take 3, 4, 6 months. Assumption Solutions is a cost of $1,900 and they will process the entire assumption for you between the seller, the bank, and the buyer. They will process all of that for you. And if someone was to go to get a new loan today, The cost to get a brand new loan are 2,500 to 3,000. It's only 1,900. So it's actually less than getting the cost of a new loan. Pitt has a special deal. If you guys go to pittmiller.com, you get a free month of Assume List. This is the list of properties. Here's some additional facts. Here's a fact sheet folder I have for you guys. And these are Zoom links that I have done on other calls with Assume List, Assumption Solutions, and other coaching and training that I have done. So you guys have several areas that you can go and watch these videos and let it kind of repeat in your head and really get information from different angles so that you guys can be better and well versed in this. So that as you go out and you start to talk to buyers, you can say, hey, listen, I know you guys are out looking and you guys say you want a $500,000 house. I don't ever ask people what price point they want. I say, what monthly payment are you trying to get to? We need to be under 3,000 a month. Okay, cool. You're trying to get under 3,000 a month. And what's your down payment you guys have? You have 30,000 for down payment? Cool. I'm going to take those two factors and I'm going to find you guys properties that meet those parameters. And then I'm going to go ahead and be able to find you guys probably a house that you didn't think you could afford or you thought was way outside your price point because we're going to get you a house that's got a 2.5% or 3% or 3.5% interest rate. Does that make sense? You guys hear how I'm wording things differently? I'm trying to get to their payment, their affordability. I got a gentleman who was referred to me yesterday from a past client. He said, Gary, we're getting married. We got 50,000 down. We're qualified at 470. I said, well, what's your payment? He said, well, why don't it be about 3,300. I sent him a house that was worth 600 grand that needs 47,000 down. And he was like, there's no way we can afford this house. I said, well, the payment's actually less than $3,000. And he said, how is that possible? I said, because you're happen to getting put in front of the right person to be able to help you buy a house today in today's market with 4 year ago interest rates. So I'm taking him and his fiance shopping this weekend. What questions
Hey,
do you
Gary,
have? Yes, sir.
as far as the open houses, do you have a list with the assumable loans
Yeah, so
for
that
vacant
list I have, that
houses?
Google sheet,
Yeah.
all you gotta do is go down that sheet and go through those properties and find out a house that's vacant or has
Yeah.
easy showings. So what I do, I'm gonna tell you guys this, you guys can decide to do it or not, is I actually take and save every single house I find that's FHA or VA, and I save it in MLS to a cart, and I'll actually show you guys that right now too. Show you guys what I do. Thanks for being on, Cole. Good to see you, buddy.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Cole is brand new to the team, just signed up on Friday, brand new to real estate, in college, and gonna make $1 million.
Welcome, Cole.
There we go. Come on. All right. So this is my MLS. Hopefully you guys all know this. There is this wonderful thing called a cart. And it says I'm already signed in. Right up here, I save carts. So I have a lady that's looking for apartments. I have co-living. I have a client last name Crossland. I have duplex. I have FHA assumable. I save all my people in carts. I got this wonderful one down here, VA assumable. I save every property that's VA into a VA cart. And you'll see sometimes they'll start to cancel. And then I cancel them off of here. They go pending. I remove them from my cart. But that way, anybody calls me and says, hey, I'm a veteran. I'm looking to buy in Elk Grove. I go right here. I sort this by city. And I go, what do I got in Elk Grove? I got one in Elk Grove on Falcon Meadow. That's a VA. And then I go, hey, does that fit their criteria? And then I do the same thing for my FHA. I save them in my cart. You guys will find that there are even some residential income. So there is sometimes duplexes, triplexes, different things that are FHA. So someone can live in one, rent the other two out, and make an income. Like I told you guys, I helped that client in Vallejo. So I have a lot of clients looking in Oakland and the Bay Area right now that are looking at multi-unit. So I'm helping them to buy one, have rental income, and pay off half that mortgage. So,
And I got a quick question.
yep.
Is this the subscription for 1900 that you're talking about? Is that this app right here?
This is Assumable. No, this is MLS.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, this is MLS. Yeah. And we'll get into this on our call just a little bit, Cole. So this is MLS. This is how I search. I do everything by city. That's how I kind of rank them. That way, when a client calls me and says, "Hey, I'm looking in Antelope. Here's my Antelope properties. Here's my Carmichael properties. Here's my Elk Grove properties." Keep in mind, if I have a veteran that's calling me and saying, "Well, I'm looking in Elk Grove, there's only one VA loan," a veteran can still assume an FHA loan also. I have a client I just put in escrow in Manteca. He's a veteran, owns a house in Antelope. They got a 2.25 on their Antelope house. I just got him into an FHA loan at 3.125 in Manteca so that they could be closer to family. And they're going to keep their VA loan here on their Antelope house, keep it as a rental. They're going to make $1,000 a month on the rental. Okay, so when you guys start to see all these right here, you're more than welcome to take and go through these, add them into a cart for yourself. And then when you're looking at the cart, you guys just go through, obviously find out which ones are vacant. So this is appointment only. This is appointment only. That's, oh, see, this one says do not disturb, but it also says vacant with lockbox. So if you're looking in Elk Grove, you might want to do this property, call this agent, and they're an EXP agent, and say, "Hey, Anna, I see it's vacant with lockbox. Can I do this as an open house? Because you have an assumable rate at 3% or whatever it is." All right.
Hey, Gary, is there a
Yes,
way
sir.
to do a search in the MLS just for loan types? Or how are you doing this search? It's pretty tedious, right?
It
Looking to,
is. So I use Assume List.
okay,
Like I
that's the
said, if you
thing.
guys want to
Okay,
pay the
that's it.
$79 a month, or you can let me and my VA scrape the data for you guys and put it into those Google Sheets and put it into our carts for you.
I
You
prefer to
guys are
do
going
that
to
way.
mine. That way, and like I said, I know how to search the data and I know how to scrape it, but I also know how to make it easily readable. So like all of these right here are calculations and like sums and information. So you'll see all of this is calculated. So once I start to put the data in, it calculates all the formatting for me. So all you need to do is when you're talking to a client, be able to say, "Hey, listen, I've got this house in Antelope. It's got a 2.59 rate. You need 87,000 down. Your principal and interest is 1,900. Your taxes are four, and this taxes is calculated based on them paying the list price. It's not the previous taxes from the previous client. Insurance is roughly 125. PMI, because it's an FHA loan, it's about 332. That means their first payment's 2,500 bucks. Would you like to live in Antelope for $2,500 a month? People are like, "That's what rent costs." Well, if you have 87,000, borrow from grandma, borrow from aunt and uncle, borrow from your 401k, and live in a house that you own for $2,500 a month. And then I want you guys to see this right here. So today's rate, 6.48. They'd be paying $3,400. You're saving them $900 a month. That is the savings to them. And their total savings over the life alone is $272,000. If you can help describe that to a client, you change their world forever, and you are their go-to person for anything and everything forever. This is you helping one person get here, they're going to tell everybody at their office, everybody in their at the gym, everybody that they go to coffee with, whatever. You're going to be the go-to person, and that's ultimately the goal in utilizing assumable loans. So I hope that helped you guys, gave you guys some good data, and I hope I answered all your questions because we're coming up right on an hour.
Where did we find that cheat sheet? Was it in the 12-week challenge or?
I'm going to send it to you guys in about 20 minutes. As soon as the
Thank
Zoom
you.
recording is downloaded on my computer, as soon as it comes out to a file, I'm going to send you guys an email with a copy of this link and that screenshot or the
Cool.
Google Sheet.
So Gary, how do I buy you a cup of coffee or show you appreciation? Thank you.
Just continue to come back to the 12-week challenge and be a part of that. Sorry,
Listing agent already agreed to post it at this on, so we don't have to confirm with them at all.
If you're going to post it, I would always message the listing agent and say, hey, we're doing a challenge in my office, whatever you want to say. Hey, I see you have a 3% VA assumable. Go to them with data. Don't just say, I want to use your house as a, say specifically, I see you have a veteran loan, 3%. I work with lots of veteran buyers. I'd like to be able to market your property on my social medias and to my client database. Can I do that? Yes, cool. Let me send you a text, send you an email. Let me get your approval. And like I said, a lot of these I have already gotten their approval also. And I say that I'm going to post these, but also so is my team. So I do try and cover it as much as I can.
Gary, thank you so much. So you put your time and effort and money, and then you just want to give to us. That's great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Great stuff, Gary. Thank you, brother.
Cool.
Hey, Gary,
Yes. Last minute
just one
question,
last one.
Jason.
But are most of these assumables between 2 and 3%? Do you think that's a good pitch?
I would say 2 and 4.
2 and 4.
Yeah. And when I say 2, I think people think 2%,
Low
like
twos.
2.5,
Okay, so maybe go
2.7. And here's the thing, like I said, you guys could look at the sheet when you get it.
Yeah.
The rates are right here. I mean, and look at 2.63, 2.59, 2.6,
Okay.
2.8. So actually, you're right. Most of them are
I'm
2
just
and
thinking of what to
3%.
say at an open house. Would you like to get a list of between 2 to 3%?
Yeah, I'd
Or
say
2 and
between
4?
2 and 4. And like I
Okay.
said, we're still building this out. So as we build out this piece, these will come more accurate. But yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
we're building this out for you guys.
Thanks, brother.
Okay. All right,
Gary, I was
folks.
thinking to keep control of the data and not having the list flying around to friends. I was thinking, loop them into a portal and say, hey, I'll load it into your card, I'll load it into your preloaded into your portal.
Hmm.
No, just animal list?
No, I wouldn't just send them. So yes, please. Thank you very much, Marion. Do not send this list out. This is for you guys as our agents for being a part of our team. Do not just send this list to everybody and be like, oh yeah, here's the information. No, 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 no. Close to the vest. Let me ask you what area you're searching. You have 3 zip codes you like, Folsom, Orangevale, and Fair Oaks. Let me get those properties for you and let me send you the properties. Then I would send it through MLS. Here's 6 properties that have assumable loans. Let me know which property looks the best to you. Once you've identified a property, I will break down all of the numbers for you for that specific property. Do not just send this data out, please. You guys are worth way more than data, and there are people that will just suck you dry of data and information. And then they'll try and take this to the listing agent and say, oh, yeah, I want to make an offer based on this information. And the listing agent's like, what on earth are you talking about? No, no, no. You guys, I have been, tell people this. I have been coached and trained by the best agents in the area on assumable loans to make sure that I have this information and I can educate my clients. And so if you call a basic listing agent, they're going to not really have an understanding where I have been coached and trained over the last several months, year, whatever you guys want to say, from people that are doing these on a consistent basis. Like I told you guys, I've closed 4 of them. I have 5 in escrow currently. And Mike, the owner of Assumlist, who's a buddy of mine, has done 30 of them. And
Wow.
then Assumption Solutions, the company that process them, they're processing 50 a month across the United States. So we have a team around us that does this on a consistent and daily basis so that we're providing value to our clients. Not every agent in the area is going to fully understand this. So that's how I position
It's
it.
a
Okay?
nationwide list.
What's that, bud?
It's a nationwide list. It's a nationwide program.
It is. Yes, 100%. Yep.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you. Like I said, within an hour or so, I will get all of this data out to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Are you?